Stargirl Season 2, Episode 11. We have 2 more episodes left after this. This kind of felt like the penultimate episode, I think, leading up to what the final 2 are going to bring us. And I gotta say, I've had my hesitations with the past couple episodes of this show. I think it's done some great stuff. It's also been kind of weak in some places. But this episode, I thoroughly enjoyed because I think it got back to the core of what the show was missing. This season has done a lot of stuff. And one of the things that I believe it's been lacking is just the focus on Courtney. It hasn't delved into her character that much, which is weird because she's the title character. We've seen everyone else kind of go on their emotional journey. Everyone's dealt with their pain. We've literally seen her entire family, her friends, all deal with Eclipso. She's never faced him head on yet. That's what we're doing here. And it works perfectly. So last time around, we did see that Courtney got sucked into the Shadowland. We learned that she's in the Shadowland now. The entire episode is in black and white. And it's pretty good stuff. So I gotta commend this, the lighting department for really exemplifying how Courtney looks in the black and white, because she's like the most white of the colors. She is just the light through all like the dark spaces in those gray scales. And it looks really good. So she's walking through a blue valley that's all dark and mysterious. She does come across some of the characters from the first season. Oh, what's his name? William Zarek, I think, is who it was, and his family, the wizard. And we see like the kid that she met that died in like episode 3 of the first season in like the bus crash. Shit's good. She has the moment where it's like, you're not real. This isn't normal. What's going on? And it works. It's very strong seeing Courtney struggle with these things. Again, Brec Bessinger is actually a talented actress. And when you just let her kind of play into those things, I think it works really well. So she's kind of like navigating through this new world that she's a part of. She does run into Cindy. And Cindy, we saw in episode 6, got sucked into here. She's been absent from the show since then, but she's back now. And she realizes that Courtney is real too when she gets cut, and we see that there's actual red blood showing, which kind of leads them to kind of pseudo team up in a sense to figure out a way out of here. They get into like a really good conversation because essentially Cindy is the arch enemy of Courtney. You know, that's essentially what we're seeing here. You know, Cindy was fighting versions of her father and like his creatures, and she was able to take them down. But when they get like a moment to kind of like rest, and we realize that like, oh, they got like a tortured style of story going on here between them. We see like Courtney has a scene with Barb, and Barb's like, oh, I work in 2 jobs to keep this girl like alive and happy, and all she does is want to think about her father. And basically it's like, I wish I never had her. I wish she was never born because she's a burden. And basically it's just Cindy going after seeing that, just like, are you serious with this crap? That's all you got? Your mommy wishes she didn't have you? Look what I'm putting up with. And you're going to complain to me about all this stuff? And Courtney's like, you know, we should get out of here. We need to find a way out of here and figure out what it is we're doing in this situation. But Cindy's like, you're going to die here. This place feeds off your negativity, and you are a terrible person. You are not going to survive this outcome in the slightest. You are going to die here. And it's just incredibly accurate, because I would 100% believe Courtney couldn't survive here without the help of the people around her. That stuff is really cool. And when we cut back to like the stuff not in the black and white, like the real world, we see everyone kind of like struggling to figure out what to do and how to bring things about. Basically, the idea is we have to find a way into the Shadowlands, and the best way to do that's with the Shade. We have to figure out how we can contact the Shade. But actually, I should say, before any of that happens, it's kind of like this back and forth that Beth is having with Charles McNider, because Courtney does eventually stumble upon him as she's like walking through random rooms to try to help Cindy out of a situation. She just gets into like the actual void of the Shadowlands, runs into Charles McNider, and because Charles and Beth have been talking, we figure out like the actual way we can get them out of the Shadowland, because we need the Shade to do it. So basically the idea is, and it's kind of plot convenient-y, but that is this generation of comic book characters where it's just like, we're an homage to the 50s and the 40s. So yeah, it's a convenient way that all the main characters we have in the show can get us there. I'm not going to complain about that, because that's just how you tell a story. That is how you progress a plot forward in these things. I think it works fine. So the idea is the Shade can act as like a gateway into the 2 worlds because he's connected to it intrinsically. But is he going to be able to do that? In order to figure out if he's going to do that, we have to find him. This is where Jenny comes in because her ring can, I guess, locate the darkness, which I guess you could look at it as two ways. It's a new power for the Green Lantern ring, because I don't remember if if Alan's Green Lantern ring could do that. Could it? I'm not positive. Or it could just be like, hey, we're intrinsically connecting Jade to Obsidian, because I'm going to get back to my Obsidian thoughts at the end here. So the fact that the ring can find the darkness kind of like brings them together in a sense. So we find him at an old theater. Richard's just watching some movies, just like, yep, I figured you'd show up eventually. And Barbara's just like, look, I don't need to hear any bullshit reason why you two hate each other. And like Pat and the Shade are arguing. She's like, I don't care. Save my daughter. And it's like, Barbara, don't threaten me, okay? Like, you don't hold the power here. And she's like, no, I don't. You could, if you want to kill me, do it. Because I don't want to live without my daughter. So just get her back. So like, yeah, that's how you use Barbara. Just like the emotional tether to literally everybody in the situation. That is what she should do. That is what she is doing here, and it works perfectly well. And then we see back in the Shadowlands, it's like, okay, maybe this will work. We kind of like use the theater as like a projector, so we see in between the two realms, which is a cool way to do it. I think that works pretty incredibly well. It's interesting. Again, I gotta commend, I don't remember the actor's name who's playing Charles McNider in here, but you have perfectly encapsulated that just corny energy of that guy, because the costume, it looks exactly like the Dr. Midnight costumes should, but somehow it looks cheap. Like, I mean, it's got like all those like individual textures that you see on the modern superhero stuff, and I'm like, this looks cheap and corny, and I love it. And he's just a big dumb goofball. It works to me. He's a great, like, you know, juxtaposition to the stuff we've seen with Sylvester throughout the season. So I think that's really cool. And basically, Courtney is willing to go back. Like, we could get through the Shadowlands into the real world, but she doesn't want to go without Cindy because she feels guilty that Cindy put her here. And Cindy does believe that Courtney put her there. So it's like, we have to go back and save Cindy from this waking nightmare, which I can buy that. I think that works perfectly for what we've been seeing throughout this season. Because this is kind of a big Cindy episode too. Like, this is why I'm like, this is why Courtney and Cindy are the rivalry of the show. Get to that at the end of the episode too, but I'm just like, they have been opposed since day one on this, and I'm just like, it's kind of cool how they come together in here. So Courtney saves her from kind of being tortured by her father and this stuff. She does try to say goodbye to her mother, like Cindy's like, this is the closest thing I'm going to get to having closure to my mother. But Courtney kind of snaps her back into reality, and they do eventually decide, we can get out of here. Maybe we can find a way to make this work. I really like the way that this episode kind of like brought back all the supporting characters that aren't in the show anymore. Like Dragon King's back, Cindy's mom is back, the magician is back, the kid was back, I forget his name. Billy? Was it Billy? The kid magician? Was that? I don't know. But I'm just like, that's cool. Way to put him in there too. I should say, like, even before that, when like you see Courtney trying to get to Cindy, she does have her big Eclipso moment, which I think is very important to her character. And I can't believe I almost forgot it. You see Eclipso's like, look what you did to your friends. Look what it did to Yolanda. And she's depressed and broken. Look what it did to Rick, and he's locked in prison. The monster is caged up. Look what it did to your family. Look what it did to you. You're so desperate for your father. But you're never going to have him. You're never going to have that thing. You still wear the locket he gave you, but you are literally never going to have that thing. And I broke you because of it. You are so destroyed and done. You can't win this anymore, Courtney. You can't defeat me. I really like it too. I know why it's the kid and not like the actual Eclipso monster, because, come on, we have a certain amount of budget on here and we can't really exploit the Eclipso costume, so we'll get the little kid to do it. But having it be the little kid, I think, just adds a little bit extra to the intensity and the scariness of that situation. So I'm okay if it being the kid. Like, I know it's for the cheap reasons, but it looks good. The kid's scary. That kid has a freaky haircut. That's a terrifying haircut. I really like what they did with that kid there. So him and Courtney have their moment, but she's like, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of my mistakes. I have people who help me out of it. And that's kind of the thing that pushes our trio through. And actuality here, all three of the people trapped in the Shadowlands make it back into the real world. But in doing so, the Shade had to make the ultimate sacrifice, and his life actually is gone. So Richard Swift has lost his life. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. This is why I'm like, okay, and the Shade Essence itself has to find a host. I think it's going to go find Todd Rice. We name dropped him last week. I think at the end of the episode or the end of the season, we're going to see it go to Todd. Then Obsidian's going to be maybe a villain in season 3. That could be cool to see. I like that a lot. I also like here the way it plays that the Shade isn't really a villain. He's kind of working with the JSA at times. He's got a connection to Sylvester. He's got a connection to Charles. And he even says, it's good to see you back, old friend. If I knew you were still alive, I would have brought you all back. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm here now. Yeah, how long have you been in there? A very long time. At least 10 years. You've been through hell and back, dude. But I'm super excited to see how he's going to interact with Beth. Like, that is going to be some incredibly funny stuff. And I'm just super excited to see what that's going to be. That could be really fun. So Courtney's back from the Shadowlands. She had a great, arc to get there. It's the best arc she had in the season. Is it perfect? Not really, but she got out of there just fine. And we see Cindy's back too, and she's like, all right, who wants to go kill Eclipso? Let's do it. We got a team forming here. We don't really know what's going on, but it's working. And we see that Dr. McNider is finally out of the Shadowlands. Maybe he's going to go find his wife. Maybe he's going to reform a team. Maybe we're going to get an official JSA, designated area for training and stuff. That could be fun. That could be exciting. I like it. I just really like what this episode did. It worked really well for the season, for these characters. It gave them all something to do that they needed to do, which really worked for them. Was it convenient at times? Of course. Was it kind of obvious in the way it ended? Sure. But hey, we have 2 episodes left, so if we have to have our emotional arc here while we're not afraid to fight Eclipso, it's fine by me. If you want to get a little artsy and do the black and white colors and have Cindy be in this dark, harsh darkness, and you have Courtney in the light colors, works for me. It's good stuff all around and just adds to, hey, I think there's some good stuff going on to CW right now. Are we going to get into every little thing about the CW because Ruby Rose insulted them and said Warner Brothers is really messing up and CW is really messing up? No. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to commend Stargirl for making a pretty good episode of television and giving Brett Bessinger some actual chops to do stuff with. Like, hey, now you can actually act for a bit, which is kind of cool to see because she's earned it. She really has earned it. So that is going to do it for my review of Stargirl episode 11. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.